Every big decision feels uncomfortable, not because it is wrong, but because it's new. I was stepping into something completely unknown. Of course, it felt weird. Of course, it felt scary. But that didn't mean that I was making the wrong choice. It just meant I was doing something that I haven't done before. Welcome to the Self-Made Pod, the go-to podcast for anyone ready to stop waiting for success and start creating it. I'm Carla May. I left my 9 to 5 and built an 8-figure business from scratch. No fluff, no BS, just real proven strategies to achieve success, mindset, and taking control of your future so you can build a life that you truly want. If you're ready to start dreaming and start doing, let's dive right in. Today, I'm going to talk about the 4 lessons that I learned from leaving my corporate job. Lesson number 1, the biggest mind block from doing anything that you want is our wrong perception of money. Not a lot of people know this, but when I started my freelancing job, I was actually juggling it with my day job. Actually, I had 2 day jobs. Who can relate? You know that feeling, the feeling that you wanted to do your own thing, but you also need to be practical. You tell yourself, I'll quit when I have enough savings, or I will do this full-time when I have enough clients. And that was me. For months, I was working long hours, juggling my corporate job while growing my freelance business on the side. I was waking up early, staying up late, taking calls during my breaks. But even when I started making decent money from freelancing, I was still terrified from leaving my job. Why? Because of money. Not in the way that you'd think though. It wasn't that I didn't believe I could make money. It was that I had a wrong perception of money. Now this is the hardest part of quitting my job. I told myself that I would quit once I feel 100% secure. I thought that at some point I will just wake up and I will feel ready. But the truth is, that moment never came. Because the hardest part of quitting my job wasn't really losing the paycheck. It was letting go of the false sense of security that that job gave me. I had convinced myself that my company needed me, that I was irreplaceable, that if I left, everything else would fall apart. And the reality check, they replaced me in 2 weeks. The company didn't collapse without me. My old coworkers moved on, so did I. And that was a big slap in the face. I realized that I was holding on to something that wasn't even mine to begin with. And I also realized that one of the biggest reasons why I was scared to quit was because I saw money as a security. I thought that money came from jobs, not from me. I thought that more work equals more money. And I thought, as many people say, freelancing is unstable, unlike having a full-time job. But once I quit, I had no choice but to figure it out. And what I discovered was life-changing. I realized that money don't really come from a job. It comes from value. That if I can create value, I will never be broke. And I can control how much I earn without even waiting for a paycheck. And that was the biggest shift. So instead of thinking, what if I don't make money? I started asking, how can I create more value? How can I help more people? How can I create something bigger than just exchanging time for money? And that's when everything changed. What I want you to get from this lesson is that your relationship with money determines your success. If you believe that money is limited, you will play small. If you believe that money is tied from a job, you will always feel trapped. But if you believe that money comes from giving value, you will start thinking bigger. Most people don't fail in freelancing because of the lack of skill. They fail because they cannot let go of their old money beliefs. So, you ask yourself, do you see money as something that you earn or something that you create? Are you holding on to something out of fear instead of stepping into what's possible? Remember, your mind is your biggest limitation or your biggest asset. The choice is yours. Lesson number 2. All decisions are uncomfortable because they're new. I remember the exact day when I decided that I will quit my job and go 100% in on my funnel design business. I had been thinking about it for months. I knew deep down that I didn't want to stay stuck in a 9 to 5 job. I wanted freedom, I wanted control, and the ability to make more money in my own terms. But when the day came to submit my resignation letter, I froze. Suddenly, I started to question everything. What if this was a mistake? What if I fail? What if I regret this? Again, it wasn't like I didn't know what I wanted, but it felt so uncomfortable, almost unbearable, because I had never done it before. This wasn't just a job switch, it was a life switch. So I sat there staring at my resignation letter for an hour. My hands were literally shaking over the send button. And then it hit me. Every big decision feels uncomfortable, not because it is wrong, but because it's new. I was stepping into something completely unknown. Of course, it felt weird. Of course, it felt scary. But that didn't mean that I was making the wrong choice. It just meant I was doing something that I haven't done before. So I took a deep breath, counted to 3, and I hit send. And you know what? Nothing catastrophic happened. My boss replied, we had a polite conversation, and that was it. No drama, no disaster, just a simple decision that changed my life. Now, what I want you to remember is that all decisions are uncomfortable at first. Why? Because they are new. Your brain sees it as a threat even when that change is good. The first time that you drive a car, it's going to be overwhelming. The first time that you speak in public, your heart will race. The first time that you take a risk, your fear kicks in. But over time, it becomes normal. You become comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this. It's really, really scary, but eventually, you just get used to it and you get better at managing that discomfort. So, starting today, just get used to discomfort. It's actually a sign that you are growing. Now, on to lesson number 3. The most difficult phase in anything is starting. Starting is the hardest part. Always. Not in the middle, not in the execution, not even in the setbacks. The hardest part is just taking that very first step. When I first decided to become a funnel designer, I had no clue where to start. Unlike today where you can just Google how to become a funnel designer and you get thousands of free resources. Back then, there was nothing. No structured courses, no step-by-step guides, and no funnel design for beginners playbook that I could follow. I knew that this skill can change my life, but I was stuck in analysis paralysis because I had zero knowledge and I had no idea where to start. I was asking the most simple questions. What software should I use? What if I learn all this and no one hires me? What if I spend months trying and I fail? Everything felt like a question mark in my head. And do you know what your brain does when it senses too many unknowns? It goes into full panic mode. Don't do it. What if you lose money? Just stay safe. And that was me battling in my own thoughts, going back and forth on whether or not should I take this risk. And then I came across 2 mentors. One was a coach who's specializing in the skill, and the other one was a business coach who can help me turn that skill into a profitable business. These were the exact people who achieved exactly what I wanted. They had clients, they had systems, and the proof that it worked. But the problem? They weren't cheap. Their coaching fees were each 6 figures. And I had no idea where to get the money. I was terrified. So I sat there, staring at their payment pages. My heart racing. I did the math. And it was way more than that I had. But deep down, I knew if I didn't start now, I never would. So I took the leap. I made the scariest decision of my life. I paid for both coaches. 2 6-figure investments. Even though I didn't really know where the money will come from. Even though I had no guarantee that it would work. And the moment that I did, everything changed. Now that I'm enrolled, I had no choice but to make it work. I learned faster because I had skin in the game. I stopped overthinking and started executing. I threw myself into learning. I studied day and night. I implemented everything that they taught me. And within months, I landed my first high-paying client. And then another, then another, then another. And you know what? The money that I spent, it wasn't an expense after all. It was an investment. Investment that gave me the skills, investment that gave me the confidence, the investment that gave me the roadmap to success. And think about it. Starting a workout is harder than continuing it, right? Starting a business is way scarier than actually running it. I I remember when I first launched my first service, I had no idea if people would pay for it. I spent weeks trying to make it all look perfect, tweaking my page, fixing my branding, but never actually putting it out there. Why? Because I was scared. What if no one buys? What if they think it is not worth it? And then someone told me, action builds confidence, not the other way around. So I stopped tweaking and I just launched it. The first few people didn't buy, of course, but eventually someone did. Then another, and then another. So what I want you to get from this is that the only way to make something easier is to get started doing it. You just have to take the first step in everything. Now, lesson number 4, your environment shapes your success. I didn't fully realize this until I left my job. But your environment is everything. Who you surround yourself with, the conversations that you have, the energy that you absorb. It all impacts how you think and what you believe is possible. There was a time that I felt completely stuck. I had the skills, I had the ambition, I had a vision of what my life would look like. I know you have it too. But something was holding me back. For the longest time, I thought the problem was me. Maybe I wasn't disciplined enough. Maybe I wasn't smart enough. Maybe I didn't just have whatever it takes to be successful. Until I realized it wasn't me. It was my environment. The people around me did not get it. When I first started learning funnel design after quitting my job, when I jumped 100% into funnel design, I was so excited. I saw the potential. I knew that the skill can make me a lot more money, give me control over my career, and create opportunities that I had never imagined before. But when I started to share my plans with the people around me, they asked me, "Are you sure that's a real career? Why don't you just get a stable job? That sounds risky. What if you fail?" And I can't even blame them. They were not trying to bring me down on purpose. They just didn't understand the world that I was trying to step into. They were stuck in traditional thinking, the belief that the only way to be successful is to have a safe job, climb the corporate ladder, and hope for a raise every few years. And their words started to get to me. I started doubting myself. I started feeling ashamed for wanting something different until one day I listened to a podcast that completely shifted my perspective. It said, if you want to be successful, look at the 5 people you spend most of your time with because that's your future. And that hit me hard. I looked at my surroundings. Who was I talking to every day? Whose opinions I was listening to. And I realized that I was stuck because I was surrounded by people who didn't believe in what I was trying to build. I knew if I wanted to change my life, I have to change my environment. But I didn't just wake up one day and had a circle of successful entrepreneurs cheering me up. I had to build that environment from scratch. That's why I invested in coaches. Because I need to surround myself with people who are already doing what I wanted to do. I joined mastermind groups and online communities. I surrounded myself with people who spoke the same language, who believed in success, who shared their wins and really encouraged each other. And I started consuming content from the people that I admire. If I didn't have successful friends in real life, I borrowed their mindset by listening to podcasts, reading their books, or learning about their journeys. And everything changed. Suddenly, I was not the only one talking about success, funnels, marketing, and business growth. I was surrounded by people who thought better than me, who made me realize that I was actually playing too small. So I went from doubting myself to feeling unstoppable. I started implementing faster because I was seeing a proof that it worked. And I stopped caring about the opinions of people who were not even where I wanted to be. What I want you to get from this is that your environment can push you forward or pull you back. So you have to choose it wisely. Once you change your environment, you change your mindset. And when you change your mindset, you change your results. All right, before we wrap up, I'd love to ask you this question. What are you going to do with everything that you learned today? Because knowledge is great, but action is what really creates results. And if you're serious about building a business with funnel design, whether you're a freelancer, coach, service provider, or business owner, you need a system that actually works. And that's exactly why I created the 3-Day Funnel Challenge. If you want to learn how to design high-converting funnels, this is for you. If you're tired of struggling to get clients because your offer is not positioned right, then this is for you. And if you want a step-by-step framework to build funnels that convert, this is for you. In just 3 days, first you will create an irresistible offer so your funnel attracts and converts the right audience. I will also be teaching you the exact funnel structure so that you can turn visitors into paying clients even if you're a beginner. We will also have live funnel builds and all of the templates that you need so that you can actually build your first funnel in just 3 days. So, here's your next step. Go sign up now. The link is in the description. And hey, if you love this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who needs to hear this today. Let's keep growing, keep learning, and keep taking action. This is the Self-Made Pod, and I'll catch you in the next episode.